boy Nextstop SirchCity, and welcome back to another episode of the Food We Watch podcast. Now, I know, it has been a minute. It's been a few months. You've been wondering where we've been. Shout out to our co-host Neda. She couldn't be here today, but she will be coming back in the near future. So glad to be back. Sorry we've been away for so long. Just life be lifing. But guess what? We didn't forget about you guys. We know deep down in our hearts that you guys love to watch this podcast. You love to hear us review these food shows, and you just love our takes on what's going on. So, without further ado, thank you guys for returning. Thank you for letting us have our brief hiatus. Beforehand, we did get the 50 episodes. We got the 50 episodes. Now let's aim for 100. What are we doing now? We are reviewing our favorite show to review, which is Next Level Chef. We are in season 4. We're going to review episode 1. Before we do that, I just want to shout out everyone who has been waiting for us to return. I know there's a lot going on. First and foremost, Happy New Year. Yeah, we definitely didn't, we weren't around for the New Year, but Happy New Year to everyone out there. Hopefully, I know it's been a couple crazy months. We're in February now, but hopefully it is going good for you. I know we've had some tragedies that have taken place. We had the fires in LA. Hopefully, we have a lot of people who were affected are now starting to get back to a normal or a new normal. We had the plane crash in DC. Our condolences to the people that were lost there, as well as in my hometown of Philadelphia. Witnessed a plane crash in Northeast Philadelphia a few weeks ago. And again, our condolences to the ones who were affected and the ones that were lost. It has been a crazy year so far, but we are back here to give you guys some normalcy or just to take away all your craziness that you're going through during the day and give you at least 30 minutes of laughter. Now, let's get into it. Now, we know we've been here before. We've watched Next Level Chef. You have the show, which is hosted by Chef Gordon Ramsay, Richard Blaze, and Aisha, our favorite host. We know how this show operates. We're going to have about 15 contestants, and they're going to fight for their lives. We have social media chefs, at-home chefs, and professional chefs. And what they do each week is that they're going to be on different platforms, the basement, the middle, the top, and they're going to be competing. They're going to be competing for not only a mentorship with the chefs, but also $250,000. I can use that right now, but let's get into it. So the first episode really highlighted the social media chefs. The social media chefs that we watched was Chef Keith Garrett from Watts, California, Becky Guevara. She is from Denver, Colorado. Sorry if I butcher your name. Jeff Kim from Fountain View Valley, California. We have Megan, and I did not get where she's from, but we have Meg. We have Elena Tovia. She is from Guilford, Connecticut. And then we had Jake Goldberg. Did not get where he's from. But we have these 8 chefs, and what they're doing is they're going to go through each level, the basement, the middle, and we're going to have the top. And each level, one person is going to get eliminated until they get down to their top 5 that'll be thrown in the draft, in which at that point, Chef Ramsay, Blaze, and Aisha will pick their teams. All right. Now, again, the competition is started in the basement. Um, the first mentor or the first chef that was going to help mentor them through was Gordon Ramsay. Everybody was excited. The challenge that they had was to create a midnight meal or snack. As you can see, I'm a big boy. I had my fair share of midnight snacks, so this is one of the competitions that's near and dear to my heart. So I wanted to see how creative they were going to be, and let's see how that turned out. Chef Jeff Kim, he was very excited. He said he has a whole series, I believe on TikTok, of midnight meals. So this was right up his alley. So now, me and Nita, we talk about this before. A lot of people, a lot of these chefs will talk about how, oh yeah, I've done this already, I've done this before, and more often than not, this tends to bite them in the butt. So we gonna see if Jeff had what it takes to get through this competition. The chefs have 20 minutes to create this dish, and right off the gate, soon as the platform drops, Keith notices right away, Chef Keith, that the ingredients weren't regular. So these weren't regular ingredients like we're used to seeing, like just the fresh protein, the sides, and all that. No, this was like stuff you would find in your refrigerator, and like half-eaten pie, a half of an onion, old Chinese food, and they had to take these things to create their dish. Right off bat, they were thrown off. Keith grabs the chicken skins and he decides he's going to make some kind of chicken omelet. Becca jumped onto the platform. So she's small. So she was trying to reach for her protein. Everybody's fighting for what they're looking for. So she just decides to just throw herself onto the platform. And she finally was able to reach her ham bone and a half eaten pie. I don't know what you gonna make out of that, but we gonna see what she was able to come up with. Elena, she wanted to grab the sausage meat, but unfortunately, she was too late and ended up with salmon scraps. Wasn't really too happy about that. As soon as they are grabbing all their stuff, um, the platform starts to rise. It really didn't sit there that long. Platform started to rise. Everybody's grabbing for whatever little things they can grab left. Bobby is going to use turkey and he's going to try to create some fritters. So we're going to see how that turned out for him. Now, Bobby, he's a little unique. Him and his girlfriend, they are very retro, very vintage, and he does a lot of retro style cooking. I did check out his page. I do believe I have his page. Where is it? So if you want to go check out some of his unique dishes and things like that, um, I actually didn't get. Oh, here we go. At this fellow. So if you're on IG uh, or TikTok, at this fellow is his handle. Definitely has some unique things, some 1950 vintage, 60 vintage, quirky recipes that other people wouldn't want to try or do. He does them, so definitely check him out. Definitely hope we can get him on a podcast. Becca is thinking about creating a deconstructed ham pie. Me personally, really don't know what that is. A ham pie. But what she was going to do was take apart that filling from the pie and create some kind of, I guess, like a chicken pot pie, ham pie. We're going to see how that turns out for her. Now, again, Keith is making a chicken omelet. They go into talking about how Keith, started from the bottom. Now we here from Watts, California, took it upon himself to start a food truck, which is something I actually kind of think I want to do in the future. So that was a little bit inspiring. He specializes in quesadillas. So it's a black man doing quesadillas in Watts. Very inspiring. Does this for his community and does good work. Then we have Megan. Meg ended up being the one who grabbed that sausage meat, and she's going to do some kind of sausage ragu. So we're going to see if that turns out well for her. Now, again, Elena is the one who grabbed the salmon scraps. She also grabbed some leftover rice. She was going to create some kind of salmon ball. I cannot remember what she called it, but she was going to make some kind of salmon ball. Gordon really didn't like the idea, and Blaze and Naisha, as they were sitting there watching from the couch, instantly was like, "Hey, why is she overcomplicating this thing? You have salmon, you have rice. Why not make salmon fried rice?" Definitely would have went way more easier for her if she would have chose that route. Now, Jeff, I've never heard of this, but this may be a new thing. Jeff ended up having a tilapia, the fish. So Jeff decides that he's going to make late night nachos with some tilapia. Never really had, I'm not really a fan of hearing fish with cheese or nacho cheese. It doesn't really sound appeasing to me. But let me know in your opinion in the chat. Would you eat fish taco or nachos? And have you had fish nachos? How were they? Were they good? Did the two mesh well? Let me know in the comments. Now we have Misty. Misty, she grabs the catfish. Misty um not only cooks, but she is also, her and her husband, they're magicians, mute magicians. I don't know why it was so hard for me to say that, but they are magicians. And what happened was during COVID, there wasn't a lot of room to have shows. We couldn't go out. We had to isolate. So instead of just saying, "Oh well, figure it out later," they took it upon themselves to start a cooking channel. They taught themselves how to cook and went online, took it, and has been having much success since. So great things that they're doing. Definitely follow her. I believe her IG is at Misty Knight. MISTIEKNIGHT. Misty Knight. All right. Now, again, we are back in the bottom, and I lost my train of thought. Oh, here we go. All right. So now, right off the gate, Naisha loves Bobby's cooking style. Blaze is eyeing Keith, and at first, Alina, but then out of nowhere, Alina starts to freak out. Like you just see her have a total meltdown, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" Now, Gordon comes and he asks us, "Okay, yeah, you got these salmon rice balls. Okay, where's the sauce?" She's like, like she really, you thought her head would just explode. She's just like, butter. I make a butter. He's like, that's not a sauce. He's like, come on, like you got to elevate it. You didn't come to this competition to make a rice salmon ball and just thought that was just going to be the only thing on the plate. So I would love to get Elena on the podcast so we could talk about this. What was her train of thought? Where was she at? How did she feel when she realized she didn't have a sauce? Definitely would love to get her on the podcast so we could talk about that. But she did make it through. Everybody made it through. Um, at the end of the day, for the first round, everybody made it through. No fires, no medic as of yet, but everybody made it through. So let's go over the dishes. Again, we have Rebecca. She did the deconstructed ham pie. Judges thought that it was a great example of taking something from the platform and turning it into a homemade dish. It was soul hugging, so they absolutely enjoyed it. Keith had the chicken omelet. The dish was all over the place. The omelet started to fall apart when he tried to take it out of the pan. So unfortunately, it didn't look appetizing, but the chicken was delicious. Right. Next, we have Jeff. Jeff did the crispy fish tacos, and to my surprise, Blaze was happy to taste it. Blaze wanted more. Naisha loved his use of and the way that he escalated a fish stick. So he did real well. Shout out to Jeff. Next, we have Jake. He did the Asian glazed wings, and I'm not going to lie, I think these were my favorite. This was my favorite dish. It was bottom line a midnight snack. I would snack on some wings, some blue cheese. They thought that it read midnight snack. The glaze and the sauce was delicious. Jake, if you're listening to me, I need you on this podcast. And I need you to send me some of those wings. Them things looked fire. Next, we have Meg. Meg did the ground sausage ragu. It was a great example of a midnight meal. They wanted to keep eating it again and again and again. So Meg also did a terrific job. Misty, she did a catfish ramen. They really didn't say too much about this. They just said they really liked the broth. Next, we have Bobby. He did the turkey neck fritters with the poached egg. The poached egg was right on spot. Was spot on. The most difficult grab, but he turned it into something that was probably one of the best dishes that they had. And then we have Elena again with her salmon balls. Again, they called them something else. I can't remember. If you remember, put it in the chat, put it in the comments. Sadly, there was no sauce. Sadly, the balls were dry. So the first three that made it, or the first two, no, yeah, the first three that made it to the mid-level round was Jeff, Bobby, and Becca. The next three was Meg, Jake, and Misty, which left our bottom two to be Keith and Elena. And I wrote this down before I even knew what he said. Unfortunately, we had to see the early exit of Elena. Again, Elena, I watched some of your content. I like the things that you do on social media. Definitely, guys, if you can go follow her at Mama Elena, MommaIlena. She has great content. It just wasn't your time this time. Hopefully, you keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully, we can have a conversation with you here on this podcast. Now, we are going to the mid-level. Everyone, since they are social media chefs, they were challenged to create a viral dish. Now, right off gate, as soon as that platform dropped, Misty and Becca were wrestling for the steak. Like literally, their hands was on it, and they were literally trying to rip it out of each other's hands. And Becca decides, you know what? Yeah, we've been sitting here pulling on this steak and all this. It's probably not going to be in the best of shape anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one to Misty. So Misty ends up with the ripped up steak, and Becca ends up going with the snapper. Bobby, dear Bobby grabs the chicken tenders, but realized when he went to go grab more products as the platform started to rise, 75% of his ingredients fell out of his hands, including most of the chicken. He only had like one or two pieces of chicken left. So, with so little ingredients, he pivots and he decides he's going to do a schnitzel. I've heard of schnitzels. Never had one, never seen one, don't even know what it really is. But if you know what it is, comment below. Have you had schnitzels? What are schnitzels? Do you like schnitzels? Do you think it was a good idea for him to do schnitzels? Let me know. Jake, he grabbed the ground lamb. He was going to do something Mediterranean. Now, fun fact, Jake actually played one of the sons, or maybe the only son, in the movie Grown Up and Grown Ups 2 with Adam Sandler. And I was looking at him for a minute when he was cooking, and I was like, that guy looks familiar. But then they pivot to start talking about his background, and I was like, that's where I know him from. So after he starred in those two movies, he said it was just, a little hard for him to pick up more work as an actor. So he moved into doing cooking content, something that inspired him to be a creator and not wait for someone to give him a opportunity. He decided to take the opportunity upon himself and create content. So he is on IG. If you want to follow him, definitely you can. He is at silly_Jake. SILLY_JAKE. Definitely reach out. He has amazing content. We would love to have you on the pod. Now, Misty, very confident in her steak. Dish, so confident that she forgets to put it on. She forgets to do anything with it. But she was highly confident. She's made steaks before. And guess what? We all know what happens when you start talking about what you've done before. We're going to find out what happens to her. Jeff talks about doing ASMR. So his food content is based around him and the kids. They would do ASMR videos where they would sit there and talk like this, and you'll be doing like this, and then you hear them crunch and do all that stuff. Yeah, never really got into that, but he turned that into creating his own food that they would do ASMR too. So he has a great cooking channel as well. If you want, again, you can follow him. His TikTok or IG is at the Crunch Bros. The Crunch Bros. Now let's get back into it. Blaze is nervous for Keith. Simply because he's very quiet. He wasn't asking for any instructions. He wasn't rushing like everybody else running around. Keith was very quiet. But Keith said, "You know what? I'm good. I'm good. I got this pork and I got this rice. I'm about to make a pork rice dish." So he was good for the most part. Becca's dish is coming together and she loves Blaze's energy. She feeds off of it. She loves the fact that he's not overly yelling at her, telling her what to do. He asks her a question, she answers it, but at the end of the day, she's focused on her dish. So she loves Blaze's energy, how he allows them to cook in the kitchen. Meg is doing a turmeric fish with coconut milk. Now, fun fact, Meg lives in a van for about 5 months out the year. Her and I guess her boyfriend, they travel around and they just pull up the spots and just cooks wherever they are. She had this real nice view of them pulling up to the beach, I believe in California, and just setting up shop, cooking outside, and the waves are crashing, and you're sitting there eating it. It looks fun. I definitely want to do that. I gotta have Meg on here so we can talk about getting us out to the West Coast and just picking a day and going out, driving around, finding beautiful sceneries, and going out to cook. I would love to do that. Now, back to Misty. Misty, 4 minutes to go. Now she decides to cook her steak. Not only does she just decide to cook her steak, but she doesn't even have a hot pan yet. It'd be one thing if the pan was hot and it was ready to go. It wasn't. So Gordon was a little nervous and we was like, okay, I don't think this is going to turn out good because the pan ain't hot enough. Therefore, what's going to happen is that steak is going to come out gray and not have a sear. Misty starts freaking out a little bit, but eventually she got through it. And now let's go to what they cooked. Jeff. Jeff did the bacon wrapped shrimp over fried rice, over fried rice noodles. The judges loved the idea of the quirky noodles, loved the weirdness, and it was very delicious. Meg, Meg did the haddock with coconut sauce and crushed purple cauliflower. Flavors came out great. It was visually stunning, and the haddock was delicious. I make haddock from time to time, so definitely a good job. Misty, Misty did the top round steak with the cauliflower puree. The judges said the steak needed more sear, and that puree was disgusting. It was hella grainy. They didn't like it. It really wasn't a puree. It was purple, and it didn't match with the steak. They just didn't like the dish overall. Becca did the red snapper and beetroot fusilli. I don't know. I wrote it. I think I spelled it wrong, but either way, it was visually bright and delicious. Keith did the pork loin with the fried potatoes, with the creamy, dirty rice. They loved the blackened seasoning, but they was confused about why he did two starches. Keith, I don't know, man. They're coming for you. Jake did a Mediterranean ground lamb rice. They said it had a good flavor, but the eggplant was undercooked. Sorry about that. Bobby ended it off with the chicken tender schnitzel. They stated that it created a beautiful moment with the dish. It was very delicious. So way to bounce back, Bobby. You turned nothing into something, literally. Congratulations. Now, let's go to who made it to the top and final round. First off, we had Meg and Bobby off rip, did a great job and made it to the top level, followed by Jeff, Becca, and Keith, which left our bottom two, to be Jake and Misty. Now, here is what missed me. I don't agree with this, but Jake ends up losing. I felt as though Misty lost that round. Her plating was just all over the place. Um, they stated that Jake's dish had a good flavor. It's just that the eggplant was undercooked. But Misty's dish just didn't come together at all. They didn't like what it looked like. They didn't really like how it tastes. The steak was not right. In my mind, I thought Misty was going home, but sadly, we had to say goodbye to Jake. So Jake, you did a great job. In this world how to pivot, and I know you're going to pivot into something uh, that you're going to want to do in the future. Definitely want to have you on the pod. Now, I don't want to keep you guys too much longer, so let's get into the top level. Now, Gordon Ramsay, he was the mentor for the first round. For the middle level, it was Blaze, and now we have Naisha that's going to be cooking or mentoring these cooks for the top level. And they just had to create a perfect dish. That's it. Just create a great dish. Now, right off gate, Keith runs, darts, dashes to the platform, and ends up pulling something in his leg. He is hobbling, but he was able to grab himself a New York steak. Bobby grabs a ribeye, and Misty is nervous. Ooh, excuse me. I'm not even gonna edit that out. We just gonna keep on going. Naisha doesn't like her cream sauce idea with the fish, thinks that she's doing too much and needs to kind of pull it back. Meg grabbed some cod. So I think this is the second time she's doing a fish. I could be wrong, but the judges were impressed with the idea that she came up with for her dish. Becca, she grabbed scallops and is making an Asian style dish. Now, this is something that Gordon is like real spot on about. Him and scallops go hand in hand. So he was a little nervous for her and hope that whatever she was going to do was going to put her over the top. Then we have Jeff. Jeff was doing a chicken katsu, but with the chicken katsu, you're supposed to like pound it out to flatten the chicken because you're gonna fry it. Um, and he had chicken breast, so you really don't want to fry a whole chicken breast. All that's going to do is going to end up, if you don't do it right, it's going to be hard and chewy, and it's not really going to be something good or appeasing to these judges. Gordon was worried for him. As soon as he said he didn't flatten it, he's like, man, you just don't fry a whole chicken breast. You just don't. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't have done it for this competition, but we're going to see how that turns out for Jeff. Keith Keith is all over the place. Keith done hurt his leg. He's acting like they're still in the basement, and he's mashing up potatoes with a spoon. And Aisha's like, "You're on the top level, my guy. You have all you have all these instruments to your disposal, and you decide to use a spoon." So she had to get on him a little bit. She did her thing. And then we have Bobby. Bobby barely gets the steak on the plate before the time ran out. Bobby was doing a good job, but then he got into his head and lost track of time. He threw on the plate what he could. So let's get into what was cooked. We have Meg. Meg did the seared cod with the roasted purple potatoes. Judges said that the cod cooked beautifully, but her plating was incorrect. They didn't really like her plating. Bobby seared ribeyes with braised fennel and spinach. The ribeye was cooked beautifully, bright sauce, and it was just a great choice overall. Jeff did the airline chicken breast with roasted asparagus, broccoli, and glazed carrots. It was a very simple dish, and they expected more than just him throwing the chicken into the fire. So they wasn't really too pleased with what they got from Jeff. Misty did the seared swordfish with a citric sauce, roasted tomato, not stunning to the eye, but was a good dish. I believe it was Blaze who wanted more. Oh no, they wanted better. They wanted better. Keith again did the New York strip steak with the mashed potatoes and roasted asparagus. The seasoning was good, but the steak and the potatoes were undercooked. Dang, Steve, dang, Keith, I don't know, it wasn't your day. And then we have Becca, who did the hoisin glazed scallops with the mushrooms and roasted asparagus. Right off gate, seared beautifully. They love the taste of the hoisin sauce. She did an excellent job. Now, overall, the top winners on the top spot were Becca, Bobby, Meg, and Jeff, which left the bottom two to be Keith and Misty. And unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to our dear friend Keith from Watts, California. I was rooting for you. I like the fact that you're from the inner city like I am. We're on two different coasts, but you're from the inner city and you're trying to do something positive within your community. Definitely, I'm not going to say I hope. I definitely can't wait to get you on a podcast and not only talk about your experience here on Next Level Chef, but what your plans are for the future. Maybe we can collab, a East Coast, West Coast collaboration. You never know, but we definitely got to get you on the podcast, but definitely a good job on what you did on the show. So just to run off the top 5 for our social media chefs, we have Becca, we have Bobby, we have Megan, we have Jeff, and we have Misty. That's going to be our top 5 for the social media chefs for this competition. The next episode that airs on Thursday, which airs tomorrow, I do believe they are going to showcase the at-home chefs. So definitely tune in. Make sure you take some notes and make sure you come back to watch us next Wednesday for another episode of the Food We Watch podcast, because we're going to be reviewing this whole season. So I know this was a little rapid fire, but there was a lot going on in this episode. And hopefully, again, we're going to get back to our normal routine of going over these dishes, picking our favorite ones, picking the worst ones, picking the people who we think that's going to win it all or who's going to do good and things like that. We're going to get back to our normal routine. But I just wanted to hop on here because I didn't want to keep you guys waiting. I just wanted to give you guys another episode of the Food We Watch podcast. As you already know, I have been your host. But before we go, I just got to let you know that good things come and good things go. Life is like a box of chocolate. It ain't melting no more, baby. We back.